Peterson with the Screencast for AP Psychology. In this screencast, we're going to go over the history and approaches in psychology. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Socrates and his student Plato believed that the body and mind were separable, and that the mind would continue after you died. They thought that knowledge was innate or born within us. Aristotle, Plato's student, was data-driven. He observed things around him, and he did not believe knowledge is pre-existing. And he agreed with Socrates and Plato about the existence of innate ideas and minds being entirely distinct from the body. The concept of mind forced him to conclude the mind and physical body communicate to each other. Through dissection, he believed in animals having animal spirits located in brain fluid, leading to a type of communication, which is on the right track to discussing nerves. More on that later. Next up is Francis Bacon, who became one of the founders of modern science. He was fascinated by the human mind. Philosopher who believed the mind was a blank slate or a tabula rasa is that this is the foundation for empiricism, the idea that what we know comes from experience and that observation and experimentation all lead to scientific knowledge. Locke's ideas, along with Bacon's ideas, led to the formation of empiricism, or the idea that what we know comes from experience, and that observation and experimentation enable scientific knowledge. William Wundt established the first psychology laboratory at the University of Leipzig, Germany. One of William Wundt's students, named Stanley Hall, went on to establish the first formal U.S. psychology laboratory at Johns Hopkins University. Another of Wundt's students, Edward Bradford Titchener, joined Cornell University faculty and introduced structuralism. It's an early school of thought promoted by Wundt and Titchener, which used introspection to reveal the structure of the human mind. Titchener's strategy was to engage people in self-reflective, introspective looking inwards training them to report elements of their experience as they looked at a rose, listened to a metronome, smell, or taste a substance. William James thought it'd be more fruitful to consider the evolved functions of our thoughts and feelings. This led to functionalists, encouraged explorations of down-to-earth emotions, memories, willpower, habits, and moment-to-moment streams of consciousness. For a Harvard PhD, but she was denied by Harvard. So the first awarded female psychology PhD fell to Margaret Floyd Washburn, who later wrote The Animal Mind and became the second female APA president in 1921. At the time, she was denied entry into the organization of experimental psychologists who explore behavior and thinking with experiments. Just a quick tip for this class as you study these early psychologists, make sure to focus more on the significance of their accomplishments and what it means than who actually discovered what. Emotional responses to childhood experiences and our conscious thought processes affect our behavior. Until 1920, psychology was defined as the science of mental life. Much more on Freud in another unit. Behaviorism is the view that psychology should be an objective science that studies behavior without reference to mental processes that started with B.F. Skinner, who redefined the scientific study of observable behavior as psychology. Because you cannot observe a sensation, a feeling, or a thought, you can only observe the behavior. B.F. Skinner is a leading behaviorist going to rejected introspection and studied how consequences shape behavior. Humanistic psychology, historically significant perspective that emphasizes the growth of potential healthy people, has led by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, rather than focus on the meaning of early childhood memories, such as what Freud did, or the learning limiting of conditional responses. The humanistic psychologists threw attention to ways that current environmental influence can nurture or limit our growth potential, answer the importance of having our needs for love and acceptance satisfied. And that leads us into today. Today, we define psychology as the science of behavior and mental processes. Behavior is anything an organism does. The processes are the internal subjective experiences we infer from behavior. Now, some bigger issues in psychology, which include nature versus nurture. This puts your genetics against your external experiences. Charles Darwin came up with the theory of natural selection. This is biology organizing principles, and some questions you need to ask yourself could include: is children's grammar mostly innate, or is it formed by experience? How are intelligence and personal differences influenced by heredity and by the environment? Should we treat psychology disorders like depression, for example, as disorders of the brain, or thoughts, or both? While none of these have a really good answer, per se, we will look at levels of analysis, which is defined as the differing complementary views from biological to psychological to social cultural for analyzing any given phenomenon. Together, different levels of analysis form an integrated biopsychosocial approach, which considers the influence of biology, psychology, and social cultural factors. Here's another representation of the three main areas of analysis leading to behavior or mental processes. Approaches or perspectives. Your book does a good job of explaining this. Please come to class with questions if you need them. For your psychology subfields, again, I'm not going to read this to you. Please study this and come to class with questions. Then you have more info on these subfields here. Now, applied research subfields, such as forensic psychologists and health psychologists, they apply their principles to things like legal issues if you're a forensic psychologist, or running and health preventing disease when it comes to health psychologists. Again, all of these in your book. I'll let you read through those. And then you have the helping professions, clinical, community, counseling. And when you think psychologist, this is more of what you're thinking about. You're going to think about the clinical psychologist, which helps promote psychological health in individual groups and organizations, or the counseling psychologist, which helps people to adjust life transitions or make lifestyle changes. Well, that's it for AP Psychology Introduction. Thanks for watching.